At the beginning of the film, we observe a young girl who is crying while reading a prayer. Ellen begs her guardian angel to come to her aid, or anyone else besides him. After a few seconds, the girl hears a threatening voice. The mysterious demon makes a deal with Ellen that from now on, she will always belong to him. Time passes. In 1838, Ellen wakes up from a nightmare in her husband's house. Thomas Hutter is selling property and has a good income. Ellen complains to her husband about the nightmare and then suggests that they stay in bed together a little longer. Thomas leaves regretfully, saying that he has an important day. The man is delighted with his young and beautiful wife. After saying goodbye to her, Thomas runs outside and hurries to work. The man comes to see Henrik, who also praises his spouse. The boss informs Thomas that he has a buyer for the old Grunwald estate. However, Count Orlok, who has decided to purchase it, is too weak to travel. Thomas must go to the small country of Transylvania, where the buyer lives, to sign all the necessary papers with him. Henrik promises that if the man can strike a deal with the Count, he will get an official position in the firm. Thomas hurries home to tell his wife about his trip. Ellen begs the man not to leave because she has a bad feeling. The girl tells him that today she had an eerie dream in which she married a dark figure who accompanies people to the other world. Despite Ellen's pleas and her dream, the man is still going to leave because it gives him an opportunity for career growth. Thomas decides to leave his young wife in the care of friends. Friedrich and his wife Anna gladly agree to host Ellen. At night, the girl cuts off a strand of her hair and puts it in Thomas's pendant. At the same time, Henrik performs a strange ritual, talking to an entity about Thomas's journey and their deal. In the early morning, Thomas says goodbye to his wife and sets out on his journey. Ellen is sad and stares after him for a long time. Thomas rides all day and reaches the gypsy village. The Baron allows the man to stay with them for the night, but the mention of Count Orlok makes him uncomfortable. One of the gypsy women begs Thomas not to go to the Count and gives him a cross for protection. The man hears a strange noise at night and decides to follow the gypsies. They perform a strange ritual, destroying someone they believe to be a vampire. Thomas tries to stop them, but then he wakes up. The man never fully understands whether it was a dream or something else. Thomas goes outside and realizes that all the gypsies, as well as his horse, have disappeared. All day the man wanders on foot through the mountains and snowy forest. Deep in the night, Thomas stands on the road and notices a strange shadow. The man is approached by a carriage whose door opens by itself. Despite his fear, half asleep, Thomas gets in and soon finds himself in the Count's castle. Orlok doesn't greet the man very kindly, saying that all his servants have already gone home. The Count asks Thomas to get a contract so that they can settle all at once. Orlok puts real fear in the man. Thomas complies with all his requests without question. When the man tries to talk about the ritual of the peasants, Orlok loses his temper and shouts that his region is crawling with uneducated people who follow strange rituals. That is why the Count is so eager to move to Germany, where he will be surrounded by people more educated and civilized. Thomas is becoming paler by the minute and is already literally trembling with fear. When starting dinner, the man accidentally hurts his finger. From this, the Count becomes even crazier. He begins to slowly approach Thomas, frightening him even more. The action moves to Ellen, who is walking with Friedrich's wife. The girl talks about how she constantly feels like someone's puppet, as if her life and destiny are leading her to some event. Morning comes, and Thomas wakes up in the same room where he had communicated with the Count. The man calls out to Orlok, but receives no response. Thomas wanders around the deserted castle, and in one of the rooms, he discovers a mirror. Looking at himself, the man sees a strange bite on his chest. In the evening, Orlok goes through the documents again. The Count asks Thomas to sign a document in an ancient language, and the man agrees to do so. Orlok also observes a locket containing a strand of Ellen's hair. The Count leaves and demands that Thomas stay on his estate until he is well. Waking up in the night, the man feels the strange pain again and finds new bites. In a terrible panic, Thomas gets dressed and begins to explore all the doors of the castle. The man decides to explore the basement, where he finds a strange door. Thomas goes down inside the crypt and finds a terrifying count. The man realizes that there's a real vampire in front of him, which is proved by the bites. Thomas remembers the ritual of the gypsies and decides to destroy Orlok. However, the Count wakes up and takes away the man's weapon. After that, Orlok begins to control the sleeping Ellen. In a fit of sleepwalking, the girl wanders around the house and finally falls. Friedrich calls a doctor. Sievers believes that the seizures can be caused by both physical and spiritual illness. Meanwhile, Orlok once again controls Thomas's mind and feeds on it. Waking up in the morning, the man panics and throws himself out of the window into the river to escape the creepy vampire. Meanwhile, Ellen is very sad that she has not heard from her husband for a long time. Friedrich says that Herr Nock himself is missing, so they cannot find out who Thomas went to. The girl has another terrifying seizure out of excitement. Meanwhile, the doctor receives terrible news from his employee. A man has been detained in the square who started screaming terribly and then gutted 3 sheep with his bare hands. Sievers goes down to see the patient, who turns out to be Herr Nock. The old man raves about his master's imminent visit and devours a pigeon before the doctor's eyes. While answering questions, Nock once again goes mad and attacks the doctor. Meanwhile, Ellen continues to have violent seizures, which upset Anna. Sievers visits the girl and talks to Friedrich. One fact seems strange to the doctor. Both Ellen and Herr Nock rave about the arrival of a mysterious being, which cannot be a coincidence. Meanwhile, in Transylvania, the church servants find an emotionless Thomas on a riverbank. The nuns manage to cure the man and tell him that only the house of God can hide from the terrible Count. However, Thomas insists that he must rush home to protect his wife. At the same time, Dr. Sievers talks about his colleague. It is hard for the doctor to recommend Franz, as he is fascinated by the occult, but he may be the only one who knows the answer to what is happening to Ellen. Friedrich agrees to ask for help the strange doctor. To his surprise, Franz immediately guesses why they have come. Meanwhile, Thomas, not even fully recovered from his stay in the river, takes his horse and heads for his hometown. The Count, meanwhile, is on a ship that is also carrying him to Ellen. On this ship, a plague infestation soon begins to set in. Dr. Franz examines Ellen and has a conversation with her. The girl tells him that the attacks have haunted her since she was a child, but went away when she met Thomas. After he left, everything happened again, but the nightmares became worse. During the seizure, Franz also observes the girl's behavior and talks to her. The doctor is convinced that Ellen is not just having hysterical hallucinations. She is possessed by a strange spirit, the same one that possesses Herr Nock as well. Franz asks Anna to observe the girl and not give her any ether. At the same time as Nock, Ellen shouts that he is already here and then runs out of the room. At the same moment, a ship with a plague and a vampire on board crashes near the city limits. Outside, Ellen sees her husband, who has been riding a horse all night. Thomas tries to comfort the girl and tells her that the Count is looking for her. Friedrich is urgently called to work. Thomas's friend sees many rats fleeing from the wrecked ship and realizes that a plague has come to their town. The next day, doctors examine one of the sailors and realize that the man has no blood inside at all. Franz guesses that it is not just a plague that has come to their town, but something much worse. Meanwhile, Nock is having a conversation with his master. Orlok says that Ellen must come to him and voluntarily agree to become his property. The girl is frightened by Thomas's behavior and stays the night at Anna's house. Franz calls Friedrich to him and tells him that their town has been visited by a vampire and plague carrier called Nosferatu. Ellen has a nightmare in which she is visited by a vampire. Orlok says that Thomas has signed a contract to dissolve the marriage, but the girl must confirm it. The vampire tells her that he has been rotting in the ground for centuries until Ellen called out to him. Orlok gives the girl 3 nights, and if she doesn't submit to him on the last night, he will destroy her husband and everyone she loves so much. That same night, Anna is bitten by rats and falls ill with the plague. Friedrich is in a panic because of his wife's illness. He doesn't believe what the doctors say about Nosferatu and chases Thomas and his wife away. The man tells Ellen that they need to leave, but because of the epidemic, the town is about to be closed. The girl confesses her secret to Thomas. Ellen was lonely, so she summoned a demon at a young age and then became his mistress. After her wedding, Nosferatu returned to take what is rightfully his. Ellen realizes that she's the one who has brought the city and her husband to suffering. The girl has another seizure. Franz realizes that in order to destroy the plague and Nosferatu, the girl must voluntarily get into bed with him and stay there until morning. That same night, Orlok takes the lives of Anna and her children. Friedrich finally accepts the fact that the monster exists. In private, Franz tells Ellen that she is the only one capable of destroying the monster. Iron stakes and other rituals are unlikely to destroy it. The evening before the hunt for Orlok, which Thomas organizes, no one can find Friedrich. The man turns up in a crypt and lies breathless next to his wife. Thomas goes to Orlok's house, but finds Knock instead. The man guesses that Franz has conspired with his wife. Meanwhile, Ellen summons the Count and spends the night with him. At dawn, Nosferatu leaves their world with the plague. Thomas arrives and holds the hand of Ellen, who stops breathing. Franz proclaims that thanks to her act, the world has been saved from Nosferatu. This is the end of the film. Thank you all for watching this video to the end. Give this video a like, write in the comments what you think about this film, and see you in new videos.